All right, Mr. X, thanks for coming on. We're doing a special episode today where we're going to be talking about the Monero price. We normally don't discuss Monero price on this show, but I think it's about time we talk about it. The Monero community, I think, some of us have been a little bit concerned about the price, particularly versus Bitcoin. We're doing well against the dollar like a lot of cryptos are, but I think a lot of us are hoping or wondering why Bitcoin or Monero hasn't rallied more against Bitcoin. In fact, it's dropped quite a bit recently. But today is Sunday. It's January 10th. We're seeing a nice little rally. I wanted to bring on Mr. X. We've been speaking offline a little bit. We had him on the show a while ago. He's one of the representatives from Crypto Vigilante. He's very well informed regarding the fundamentals of Monero, but I also found out that he knows about quite a bit about technical analysis as well. So we're going to do a price-focused update show. Mr. X, take it away. Where are we at? What currently is the price of Monero? Where do you see it going? Have we bottomed out against BTC?
So I have here on my screen price chart that goes all the way back to pretty much shortly after Monero started on early 2014. This chart data starts in May, and we are, as you can see here, price dropped a bit, and then there's two highs that formed in 2015 and in 2016. And I've drawn a trend line here kind of that extends all the way out to the present time here to show that support, or I guess prior resistance, which has turned into support now. And as you can see here, I've drawn some yellow prediction lines here showing where I think maybe price could go potentially. I've also drawn some trend lines here, these dashed gray lines, showing how it was in a downtrend over the past 2 or 3 years here since the highs in, I guess, late 2017, 2018. And then, as you can see here, it broke down the support level. So there's a lot of people that were worried that maybe we were going to break below this support further down here. But it looks like right now we have a very, I'll zoom in a little bit, we have a very bullish wick on the candlestick here, which is showing that this looks like a reversal here. So it looks like we are experiencing a reversal from the support area, which I've shown in the blue, that long blue rectangle. And we also have some other indicators here. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit on another time frame so I can show you what's going on actually right now. So just go ahead and refresh the page.
Were you surprised to see it go so low against Bitcoin?
I was, yes. I was not expecting it to go quite so low, but I think some of the fundamental catalysts that caused the price drop was the recently Monero was delisted from the Bitrex exchange, which is not really that high of a volume exchange. So I think the market was kind of panicking out of fear that regulators that were clamping down on them, and that was why they delisted it. But there's other exchanges like Kraken, which actually has a U.S. banking license in the state of Wyoming, a special depository institution license, which shows that they are fully compliant with the law. So, and I know Justin Ehrenhofer recently did, and several other members of the Monero community did the comply first work to show that Monero is fully compliant with all laws. But anyway, going back to the chart, technical analysis here, I'm just going to go ahead and pull up a 4-hour chart showing how we actually have a bullish reversal that looks to be happening here, that appears to be in process. So let me zoom in on this chart. So actually, as you can still see, there's that blue support area. We have a very long-term blue support, or long-term historical support zone. And as you can see here, as I've drawn with the gray dashed lines, there is a descending wedge pattern which formed recently, and actually you can even see how the MACD indicator is going up. So that's actually like a bullish divergence actually on the MACD versus the price. And then we also have this descending wedge, and then we have this bullish volume coming in here, showing how the price is reversing. And actually, we've already broken into the Ichimoku cloud, which is this red see this red pattern and how it's going down.
Yeah, what does that mean exactly? I have no technical analysis abilities, by the way. I'm a fundamentals guy. You know, my take on Monero, everybody's heard it a million times. I just think it's a better version of digital gold than Bitcoin is. It's a better form of digital cash than Bitcoin is. So that's I invest based on that, not based on TA. And if anything, I've seen recently this being a time to accumulate, as I feel like it's been one of the most undervalued crypto assets out there. Just it's been overlooked. But yeah, so from a technical analysis perspective, what are these clouds that you're talking about? What do those even mean?
Yeah, so interestingly, so when the price is below, see how this is currently red, kind of been. Now I'm actually going to zoom out a little bit here, but if you look up here, I don't know if you can see that green, how it was green there. The fact that price fell below this cloud was a bearish sign. So once it broke below this cloud back in December, I don't know if you can see that on the screen. Once it broke below, price fell, and then of course it retested this cloud, and it failed to get back above it. So since it tried to kind of hug the bottom of the cloud, and then it showed no signs of really reversing and going back above it. So it continued price. A lot of sellers began to panic more, and then as you see here, this was a pretty panic sell-off with high volume in this area. And then price retested those lows and broke below that there, and even retested trying to go back up, failed to get back above that resistance, and then fell even faster, deeper here on high, additionally high volume here at the beginning of January, and then went down here. But as you can see down here in this lower part, this is a descending wedge pattern here, which is actually a bullish pattern since price did not break down further below the end of this descending wedge. Did not break below, I believe, this 33 or 34 area, 0.0034. Instead, it actually bullishly reversed. It broke above here. That's actually a very bullish sign here, that the fact that it started to reverse. So if the price can continue reversing, as you can see, it's already broken into the 4-hour Ichimoku cloud, which is this red resistance here. If it can get above that, that'll actually be a very bullish sign. So what I'd be doing is considering, trying to buy on any dips for sure. And if you're not in Monero, I would be trying to accumulate it at these levels. I do believe it's still very, very undervalued fundamentally. But even here on these indicators, you can even see actually right here, the Fisher transform indicator. Down here, there was a buy signal that happened right here shortly before it broke above this descending wedge. And then when it broke above the descending wedge, that of course was another buy signal. And as you can see, the price spiked pretty quickly there, and there's more bullish volumes coming in here. So I would expect to see this trend continue and potentially more upside. Now we'll be coming up to some resistance here in the 53 area, but if it can get above that or above this resistance here, that would also be a bullish sign. So yeah, I would be doing is watching to see how it goes, and of course it'll probably come back down to test support, and then we'll know if it's a really long-term reversal, which I do think is possible.
Yeah, are you feeling pretty confident that the low is in regarding XMR versus BTC?
Yes, I do think that's a very strong possibility. It kind of remains to be seen how if more volume comes in, as more volume does come in, then it'll be more confirmed, I think. But yeah, this just seems that it was oversold very, very low. So in my opinion, I think it is pretty likely to, it's more likely for it to continue rallying, especially if BTC pulls back. I think it looks like BTC actually gets at 38,349 right now. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some more consolidation, maybe even a little bit of a further sell-off in BTC. And in that case, I would expect to see the XMR BTC pair increase even more.
Yeah,
because actually, the other thing I want to go to. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say I wanted to switch over to the XMR US dollar or tether pair here. So
okay. Yeah, I was going to say before we leave that where we can, but I was going to say what I've noticed just anecdotally. It appears that when Bitcoin falls, Monero unfortunately falls faster, and when Bitcoin goes up, Monero goes up, but not as fast. which is quite unfortunate, and it's led to this very long bleed against Bitcoin. And then Monero seems to catch up when in the moments where Bitcoin is consolidating, and then that's when you start to see Monero start to crawl and catch up. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, that's actually what's happened. So it's kind of interesting. As these market cycles occur, I believe kind of during the bear markets, that is what would happen. I mean, the thing is now that Bitcoin has entered a bull market now, and now it's broken its previous all-time high of the 19,600 or so, or $20,000 area. Now that we're it's in the 30s and hit the low 40s recently, I believe this is the time that we'll see fundamentally sound cryptos like Monero actually accelerate against Bitcoin. And I mean, some people are calling it like alt season or things like that. That's where actually you end up seeing altcoins rise against Bitcoin's price, and then they actually both go up together, and then the fundamentally sound ones like Monero that actually end up rising faster. So you end up, if you hold Monero, you actually end up making even more money, or even you end up experiencing more gains in dollars, in terms of dollars profits than Bitcoin, than just holding Bitcoin. So as you can see back here in 2016, we had a very strong rally from let's see, about 40 cents is showing here in 2015 up to a high of almost about $500 or so, depending on which exchange you're looking at for Monero. And then as you can see here, we had a long downtrend since the highs of late 2017 and beginning of 2018. And then right now, as you can see, I drew this trend line, and back in July, we broke above, I think around this July time, right here, we broke above that downtrend, and that's when Monero started to turn bullish. And as you can see, it's been rising ever since. So I've actually drawn some yellow arrows showing where I think price could potentially go the next few years here.
Where do you see us going in terms of XMR BTC price and in terms of XMR USD price?
Well, this is the XMR USD price that I've drawn here. So this is I wouldn't be surprised to see Monero going to, like, I've drawn it here. I've drawn, like, let's see, maybe breaking this $500 all-time high within this coming year, and then maybe even going up, maybe even within a year from now or so, to maybe even $1,000 or so per Monero, or $1,000 per Monero, and then maybe even in the year after that going up to, I think, maybe 2,000 or 3,000 potentially, and then another pullback, and then this is just kind of all hypothetical, but if it ends up going parabolic, it could go up to, I put, like, maybe $9,000 or $10,000 Monero in the next couple years, or next maybe 2 or 3 years. It could be more, but these are just ideas, and also a lot of it depends also on what Bitcoin does potentially, or just in general how things go. But
so what does your chart then look like for XMR BTC for the future? Where do you see us going against BTC? I mean, the fact that we're struggling to get above point, 0.005 now is, I never thought we'd see the day. So where do you think we get back to? What becomes the new normal for Monero versus BTC? Do we get back to 0.01 anytime soon?
I mean, I don't know. It might be. I mean, there'll be some work that'll need to be done to get above 0.01. I don't think that's going to happen right away. And actually, I drew out. This was an idea that I drew for XMR BTC. So right now we have it down here in the 0.044 area. It dropped into the support area. It may retest it. So this is just a very optimistic idea of where it could go. But it could end up coming back down, and maybe it will try to double bottom down in this area. Maybe it could come back down and then eventually go up. So maybe it'll take longer. This is just a very optimistic one. But yeah, but it could be, hopefully I would hope within a year it would be back to 0.01, maybe less. And a lot of it depends on I think, issues of, like, maybe a major fungibility crisis, like if there's a lot of blockchain analytics happening, and people's coins being blacklisted all around, and people, and then also the coming atomic swaps is going to be another big thing too, depending on how soon we actually get the integration of the atomic swaps into wallets, and people being able to exchange significant amounts of liquidity using those swaps. So, and also just in general, like adoption of more merchants accepting it, things like that.
Yeah, let's talk about that too. I mean, real world use. We're seeing transaction volume go up quite a bit, right? The actual transactions that are being made on the Monero network. I think we're starting to see some real spikes there in terms of transaction volume.
Yes, yeah, it has been making new highs over the past few months. So there's been all-time highs for daily transactions um, on chain for Monero.
Yeah, I see that as bullish. I see the fact that it's really becoming the coin of the dark markets. You know, whether or not ethically you think that's a bad thing or a good thing, I think that's indicative of the fact that it has a real use case, and it's proven to be usable in that scenario, and it has a real market of customers that need it. So that I find that very interesting. And then the regulations and talk of regulations we're seeing, and how it also appears that Monero is kind of being put under a microscope, as opposed to some of these other coins where governments are taking a close look at it. Some exchanges being concerned about the risk of dealing with it. I personally see those things overall long term as bullish because it's proving that Monero is living up to its value proposition of being digital cash. Do you also see it that way? Or how do you see it?
I absolutely agree with you, actually. There's several things you mentioned, some of them being the regulatory side of things with, I believe it was like one of the some of the Monero developers and I think Justin Ehrenhofer and some other Monero community members, they had written a document that was for FinCEN showing how I think Arctic Mine and some other people put that document together showing how it's fully compliant with the anti-money laundering laws and basically how, and I know that they're trying to, FinCEN is adding I think it's like you have like the $3,000 or $10,000 transaction amounts going to what they had called unhosted wallets or self-hosted wallets. So I guess whenever you send them in and out of a regulated exchange, you have basically once there's regulatory clarity with that, and that would definitely help businesses that are maybe nervous about adopting Monero to actually be able to adopt it because they have that regulatory clarity. Now, of course, there's some people or some extreme libertarians and anarchists that just don't want to have to do with any of that. But the thing is that does help capital to be able to come in.
And yeah, I see that as a wake up call to people that use crypto, because if you're a Bitcoin user and those regulations are in place, and you're removing your $3,000 or $10,000 worth of Bitcoin off of the regulated exchange to your privately hosted wallet or your unhosted wallet, and you're revealing that you are the owner of that wallet. In Bitcoin's case, your transactions are then can potentially be traced, very easily traced beyond that point. Whereas in Monero's case, even if you reveal to the exchange and they report it that you're saying that you're sending Monero off from the exchange to your own wallet, at that point it becomes a black hole, and you can just use your Monero privately. So I see that as obviously I see that as a plus for Monero. It's showing that even with this potential regulation, Monero will still be able to provide privacy to people. Just like if you went to a bank and you took out cash from the bank knows you took out $10,000, and they may have to do reporting. But then with that $10,000, you can do as you wish with it without it being traced from there on out.
Absolutely. Because just like you said, that is actually going to draw more people to Monero, because once people realize how they're being tracked even more, it's with any other cryptocurrency, which we actually the crypto vigilante, we like to call everything that's basically what other people call privacy coins as actually a surveillance coin, kind of like how you've said as well. I think you or other people have mentioned that aspect as well. But really, fungible digital cash is really what the whole reason that was how Bitcoin was made, because it was, I mean, it's meant to be an electronic peer-to-peer cash system, and cash is fungible, and that's a very fundamental quality of sound money. And then basically right now we're going to be entering basically into a dystopian surveillance world. If everyone's using Bitcoin, that actually scares me, because if you have these reporting requirements that they're trying to put out with FinCEN, they're going to have a lot deeper insight into what you do with your money, who you're interacting with, sending and receiving. And then all that's, of course, being tracked with Chainalysis, other blockchain analytics companies. But with Monero, you actually have personal freedom, and you don't have to worry about other parties, whether it be governments or just other companies or other parties, seeing your wallet balances and what you're spending your funds on.
Yeah, well, one last question. We'll wrap this up. I know you're a busy man, Mr. X, and I appreciate you coming on and talking about price, which I think a lot of people are going to appreciate. They want to hear a price discussion. I think it's important to talk about price too, because it's indicative of how well Monero is doing in terms of adoption also, right? So we see transaction volume going up, that's meaningful, but just an increase of price is showing that there's use there and there's demand for Monero. My last question is, often you hear Bitcoin folk talk about the fact that, Bitcoin is the currency that will be used. It will be the primary rails of the financial system, and then people can opt into Monero as needed for spending, and therefore, Monero isn't really as useful or important as Bitcoin. But what I don't understand is if that's going to be the case, isn't Monero going to have a very large market cap and a lot of liquidity for that to be possible? If I'm going to swap out of my Bitcoin to make a large purchase, and I'm going to effectively use Monero for that purchase, Monero is going to have to be worth quite a bit to allow that to happen, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, you mentioned it that way. In some ways, already there's XMR.to, which allows you to hold Monero, so you have your private funds in Monero that no one can see your wallet balance. But then if I have to use Bitcoin, I can just use like a Monero.io or Take Wallet to just buy something with BTC or convert it to XMR.to and anonymously spend Bitcoin. Now, of course, I'd rather just send somebody Monero, but a lot of people don't know about Monero. Or maybe some stores may not accept it yet. But ideally, everyone should just accept Monero because it's less risk for the merchant anyway. They don't have to worry about where the Bitcoins have been or if they're dirty or not. But yeah, you were saying kind of the other way around that if people are accepting Monero, then or maybe they're holding other reserve funds in BTC, that would require Monero to have a higher market cap. So if you have that liquidity going back and forth, that's going to, I think, automatically boost Monero's market cap as well. If you have that. And also, when, like I may have mentioned earlier, the cross-chain atomic swaps that are being built for across Bitcoin and Monero, that will also be very helpful in providing an avenue for that liquidity.
Right. Do you foresee a time where where people aren't going to want to necessarily give up their Monero for Bitcoin, where you don't know if it is dirty? I mean, isn't that a potential possibility that we get to that point?
For me, I don't know if you probably feel the same way, but I don't really feel safe in Bitcoin. I don't like to hold Bitcoin unless I absolutely have to. I always try to stay in Monero, and I encourage other people to accept Monero. And it makes more sense if you're a merchant to accept Monero anyway, because you don't have to worry about if the incoming coins are dirty. And whenever I'm talking to a business or anybody that's trying to get into crypto, I always try to explain those things to them.
Yeah, no, I know me and you were both at that stage, but I'm wondering if you foresee that becoming, adopted by the market at large. Are people going to start to realize this, that they may want to get their Monero now for future use, or start thinking about Monero as the coin that will be used, as opposed to thinking, all right, I'm going to buy and hold Bitcoin and just use Bitcoin in the future as needed when I want to spend. It doesn't seem like a very realistic way of anticipating how crypto is going to be used in the future. I mean, I feel like if that's going to be the case, then you're going to want to obtain and hold Monero, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, Monero is perfectly logical. Once people start using Bitcoin, they're going to realize they should be using Monero instead. I mean, already we have people, I think it was the founder of Cakewall, I think you interviewed a while back. He was trying to buy something and one of the accounts thought it was dirty, even though it may not have been, but they banned him because they thought his coins were dirty, or after he sent them somewhere they got dirty, or they thought it was dirty. So anyway, the point is, like, even things that aren't any fault of your own, basically you could end up getting banned because of just blockchain analytics. And because it's a non-fungible currency, you really can't have a functional currency if it's not fungible, or digital cash. It needs to be fungible. So as people begin to use Bitcoin, I mean, if people just buy and hodl Bitcoin, I mean, that's obviously, there's large institutions that are buying lots of Bitcoins, but as people try to actually use it, they're going to run into problems just from day-to-day use that's going to cause them to look for something like Monero, and it's naturally going to rise very large. I'm quite sure of it. Yeah, because of that fundamental issue of fungibility.
All right, Mr. X, thank you. Thanks for coming on, talking about price. Maybe we'll have you on again soon. Hopefully we'll be in an even better position at that time. But things are looking hopeful at this point, I think. I think we hit the bottom against BTC. Once again, I'm not a technical analysis guy, so my guess is as good as anybody else's. But definitely from a fundamental perspective, I feel like Monero is so undervalued right now versus all the other cryptos.
I absolutely 100% agree. I think, actually, I can go back to my chart here, but yeah, I think we had a panic, an oversell panic here that went into the support area. So yeah, I would not be surprised to see a strong reversal back to the upside and continue. And if we can get above this trend line here, that would be a very positive sign. If that happens quickly, that'll be even more of a confirmation to think that the bottom is likely in. So yeah, I'm hoping we'll see that, and hopefully things will be turning back up here pretty soon.
All right. Thank you, Mr. X. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. And then, of course, for people that may be interested, I am an analyst at the Crypto Vigilante, and our website is cryptovigilante.io. Again, that's crypto, CRYPTO, VIGILANT.io.
All right. Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes as well. And maybe we'll touch base with you in a few weeks, or we could do this, on a monthly basis. We could talk about price some more. I know people love hearing about the price.
Yes. Yeah, I was going to say, the people who subscribe to us, we put out technical analysis on Monero, I think about 4 times a week, and Bitcoin as well, and also other altcoins as well.
Yeah, I know Crypto Vigilante is definitely really has their eye on Monero, and I believe is invested in Monero in a big way. Is that correct?
Yes, that is our top holding. So we are very excited about. We're champions of Monero. We talk about it a lot, actually, pretty often. But and I think I do definitely agree with you that the market severely undervalues it right now and is unaware of the issues of fungibility. And I believe as all these new entrants into the market realize how cryptocurrencies actually work and how money works, or just as they use it, they'll realize, I think, as they run into these fungibility issues, that the price will inevitably need to rise. So.
All right, Mr. X, thank you. Thanks again.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
All right.